What is up, college football fans, Big 12 fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Couz, and welcome to College Football Happy Hour live stream here at 8 o'clock on a Monday night. That's 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Central. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. We've already got a few people on. I appreciate everybody stopping in. I see Silas is on. I see Alan Aaron on. Thank you everybody for your support. I ask that as you come on, join the live stream, please hit that like button. That'll help get this live stream out to more people. Hopefully, we'll get more people in the chat and makes it more fun that way. First thing I want to talk to you guys about. Some of you may have heard this news today. Some of you may not have. But apparently, Texas and Oklahoma are in talks with the Big 12 of trying to find a way to get out a year early and actually get into the SEC in 2024 instead of 2025. I'm going to share an article with you from Brett McMurphy of the Action Network. He's the one who put this out today. But it says Oklahoma, Texas gaining momentum to leave Big 12 joint SEC early in 2024. There was growing sentiment and momentum for Oklahoma and Texas to leave the Big 12 a year early and join the SEC in 2024, industry sources told Action Network. The Big 12's current grant of rights expires July 1st of 2025. Oklahoma and Texas have indicated they are committed to remaining in the Big 12 until then, before moving to the SEC for the 2025 season. However, that timetable has since been accelerated and could even get completed by next month, sources said. That's quick. I mean, think about that. That's right around the corner, folks. We're talking first of the year. We could see news that Texas and Oklahoma are leaving early. Me personally, I think that's good news. I think the Big 12 needs to move on. Texas and Oklahoma need to move on, and everybody can go on with their life and get into their new leagues. It says there remain many obstacles for an early move, but one source said the climate is right for the Sooners and Longhorns to exit the Big 12 after the 2023 season and begin play in the SEC in 2024. There's a lot of moving parts, but there is the desire on many fronts for this to get done, an industry source said. Sources indicated several factors why the likelihood of an early move for OU and Texas has increased. The Big Ten grows to 16 teams with the addition of USC and UCLA in 2024, coinciding with the first year of the college football playoffs expansion to 12 teams. The Big 12 decided to add 4 teams in 2023, even before OU and UT remained in the league, and the Big 12 securing its new media rights deal. So all those are factors in this decision. This is something that doesn't surprise me, but it's finally being stated or being reported on. It says privately, Oklahoma and Texas were never in favor of adding new Big 12 members while they remained in the league, sources said. I don't think it's a secret. They did not want to have to play the likes of Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, and BYU. And they didn't like the idea of those teams coming in the league before they were out. It says while both schools have publicly said they would remain through the Big 12's current grant of rights, it's no secret that OU and Texas won out early, and the SEC also would prefer to add the schools in 2024, sources said. But as you go on in the article here, the holdup basically obviously is money. Everybody wants to remain whole here. The OU and Texas would have to pay an exit fee to leave the Big 12. It's $84 million per school to leave. If they leave early, they might be able to get that negotiated down a little bit to around $50 million each, they say here in the article. But the Big 12 is not going to allow Oklahoma and Texas to leave early without being paid for it. I mean, they're not going to let them off cheap. And I'm assuming that, and obviously Texas and Oklahoma are wanting to try to get out as cheap as they can. But there's a lot of other moving parts too. For example, the SEC just signed a 10-year media rights deal with ESPN worth about $300 million. The deal starts in 2024 and includes a pro-rata clause requiring ESPN to pay the SEC the same amount per school, which means once they add Texas and Oklahoma will also have to make that money, which that's more money out of ESPN's pocket because they're paying more money to the SEC than they are to the Big 12. So it's probably in ESPN's best interest for Texas and Oklahoma to stay in the Big 12 for another year. And as far as Fox goes, they get nothing out of this. They could care less what happens, really. So really, at the end of the day, and it even says this in the article, it's ESPN that holds the key to this right now. If ESPN can figure out a way to stay whole and everybody else can be made whole, meaning the Big 12, Texas and OU, and Fox also, I'm sure will want a piece of this deal as well because, the Big 12 has a media deal with Fox. And Fox is going to want those games on their networks, whereas SEC doesn't. They're exclusively with ESPN. So Fox is not going to want to lose out on their games either. So if Fox can be made whole, the Big 12 can be made whole. then I think they will figure out a way to make this happen. To me, it's probably just a matter of time because it sounds like all parties are on board with this. And with all parties on board and wanting to make it happen, I feel like they'll figure out a way to make it happen. And personally, that's kind of what I'd like to see. But the only thing about that is, the only negative, this past season, I had tickets to go watch Oklahoma and West Virginia play in Morgantown. I decided not to go to that game. Now I wish I had it because I will probably never get the chance to see Oklahoma in Morgantown again. But oh well, I knew that was a risk when I chose not to go. Uh, I decided to avoid the cold weather and watching what I expected to be a loss and stayed home, and we ended up winning that game. So, but anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I wasn't sure if you guys have been made aware of that. I wanted to let you guys let me know in the comments. What do you think about that? Are you glad to see Texas and Oklahoma leaving? And by the way, guys, if you want to make sure I see your chat pop up, you can drop me a super chat along with your comment and make a small donation to the channel here. It all goes right back into the channel, helps me produce more and hopefully better content for you guys down the line. What's up, Leo? Leo Cole stopping in, guys. Leo's a member of Couz's Corner. Thank you for your membership, Leo. Jordan Cruz, what's up, man? Everybody go check out Country Roads webcast where Jordan and his colleagues are doing some work over there. Thanks everybody for hopping in. I see Curtis D in here, Mark Halstead, Larry Pilgrim, Scotty B, the Baylor King, Corey Peacock, Robert Gurney. Says he's listening from Thousand Oaks, California. That's a long way out, Robert. How are things in California, my man? Christian, thanks for hopping on. Alan Aaron, I mentioned him earlier, and Silas. Silas, we're going to get to that now. I'm sure West Virginia fans are not real happy today. Silas says and they said coach had to stay or players would leave. WVU, LOL. Clown Show Brown continues, not getting a penny from me next year. No more $250 tickets. For those of you on here who may not be aware or who may not be West Virginia fans following this, the guy who was expected to be our number one receiver in 2023, Kaden Prather, has entered the transfer portal. He will more than likely not be playing for the Mountaineers next season. That announcement came out today. I think he makes player number 11 to enter the portal. If I'm hearing correctly, I think that's what I heard Jordan and his guys say on their show earlier, or maybe it was Mountaineer Paul. Heard somebody make that comment that he was player number 11. So far, most of the players that had left, I weren't that concerned about. It was guys who either weren't getting a lot of playing time anyway, or guys who were dealing with injuries, or just weren't performing up to standards, whatever. But this one hurts because Prather was going to be our number one guy. You know, we're losing Sam James and Bryce Ford Wheaton to graduation. They're going on to the NFL. Reese Smith, who was going to be the number 2 receiver more than likely on the team, is also entered the portal. And I wasn't real concerned about Reese Smith entering the portal, you know, if it was just him. But the fact him and Kaden Prather are both going, that's concerning to me because it's going to be a depth issue in that wide receiver room, and that concerns me a lot. We just don't have anybody. I mean, the guys that have to step up are, you know, Jeremiah Aaron, Cortez Braham, guys who don't have a lot of experience yet. Then you've got Jarrell Williams, who was a true freshman last year. I don't think he really saw the field much, if at all. And we do have some really good recruits coming in. We've got Rodney Gallagher, 4-star recruit coming in. We've got Elijah Caldwell, another good receiver coming in. We've got Jalen Ray, another 4-star receiver that's committed to us. So if all those guys stay, then we will have a good receiving core coming in. But let's face it, those guys are going to be true freshmen. You don't want to leave it up to true freshmen to carry your team, especially in an important position like wide receiver. But let's face it, guys, it's an air raid, man. Air raid offense. You need good receivers, and you need a lot of them. And unfortunately, we just don't have that many, at least right now. They have offered a lot of receivers in the portal, so hopefully we're able to land a couple of elite guys there to make up for these losses. Guys, there's been an update on Mike Leach and his health condition. Real quick, I'm going to update you on Mike Leach. Here's what I saw earlier. This was sent to me by my good friend Outlaw College Football, Jim Howington. on Twitter. I'm just going to pull up the tweet. Matter of fact, let's just pull it up together. Things aren't looking good for Mike Leach, guys. Not good at all. Looks like he's going to be pulled off of life support anytime. Apparently, he has no brain activity. They're just basically calling his family in to say their last goodbyes before they pull him off life support. See the report here by Jim Howington. Let's see. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. Sorry, guys. I'm doing this unexpectedly here. I wasn't prepared to do this, so bear with me a minute. Wanted you guys to see this along with me here. Let's see. Share screen. All right, here we go. All right, here's the thread. This is without question the most saddening news I've ever had to break because it involves a man I consider a friend, at Coach Leach. As most are aware, Leach suffered a severe stroke at his home on Sunday, December 11th, 2022. Leach is the Mississippi State head coach. He says Hell State FB. Leach was transported by ambulance to the University of Mississippi Medical Center in Jackson, Mississippi's only Level 1 trauma center for neurological disorders. Sources from inside the Mississippi State program indicate that the prognosis is terminal. Leach has suffered brain trauma that is not survivable. Leach's family is being called into Jackson to say their final goodbyes. Afterward, it is presumed that Leach will be taken off life support, after which he will be clinically pronounced dead. Rest in peace, my friend. If you disliked him, you couldn't help but admire him. If you liked him, you couldn't help but love him. One of the smartest, funniest, and straightforward men I have ever met. I regret I had so little time around him in this life. So sad news regarding Mike Leach there, ladies and gentlemen. I struggle to read that, to be honest with you. Mike Leach is one of my favorite coaches in college football. I mean, we all know we get a kick out of his press conferences. He's always got funny things to say that have nothing to do with football. You can tell he's a guy that just enjoys life, and the people around him love him. Dana Holgorsen has put out some messages on Twitter about it. He's very close to the people. I'm sure this is going to be tough on Graham Harrell. Graham Harrell played for Mike Leach, coached with him at Washington State. Matt Moore, I think, has some connections to Mike Leach as well, if I'm not mistaken. Grayson Berg, Mike Leach has been pronounced brain dead, according to sources. According to Jim Howington, who is a reporter with he's a freelance author writer now, but was originally with the Nashville Banner. But yeah, he apparently knew Mike Leach and was friends with him. But yeah, so it's a grim and sad outlook for Mike Leach, folks. Thoughts and prayers go out to his family and his friends and his former colleagues, current colleagues. It's a sad day in college football. Mike Leach is a legend, man. I mean, he and Hal Mumme together created the air raid offense, and I think Mike Leach took it to another level with his days at Texas Tech. And really just, look at the air raid tree. You've got Dana Holgorsen came from that tree, Sonny Dykes, Lincoln Riley. Heck, Graham Harrell, Neil Brown was part of that. There's just so many, Josh Heupel. There's so many coaches in college football and even at the pro level who worked for Mike Leach throughout the years and learned his system and have spread it throughout. It has become one of the, if not the most popular offense in college football. So Wee Story says, I'm confused. He's verified. I know that you can pay for that, and he only has 5% of the followers. So is he a real reporter, just someone who was just saying this? Sorgi, that's a good question, my man, because I don't know this guy either. Uh, Let me see what. See if it's being reported anywhere else. But yeah, I didn't even notice that, Sorgy. So I appreciate you pointing that out to me. Let's see. Yeah, 33 minutes ago. I'm trying to see if there's any more recent reports here for more reliable sources. I'm not seeing anything. So who knows if that's even a legit? That may not be a legit report, guys. But anyway, nonetheless, it doesn't look good. Here's one that came out 36 minutes ago from uh, an NBC affiliate in Dallas, Fort Worth. Mississippi State football coach Mike Leach was listed in critical condition Monday after suffering what the university called a personal health issue. The 61-year-old Leach had been admitted to the Octobeha County Hospital in Starkville on Sunday before being airlifted to the University of Mississippi Medical Center. This says he suffered a heart attack. So who knows? Says per the ledger, Leach went 10 to 15 minutes without medical attention before EMTs used a defibrillator to restore his normal heart rhythm. Mike's family is with him and appreciates the overwhelming expressions of love and support. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So that report I read you from that Howington fella, take out with a grain of salt because it may not be accurate. So I'll be anxious. Obviously continue to pray for Coach Leach. Uh, that a miracle happens. We do know through Ross Dellinger and some others that reported that it was dire and that it was going to take a miracle. Yeah, I know, but Tank, but apparently everybody else is saying heart attack. So who knows, man? Larry Pilgrim, do you know? I'm not talking. Who's Whitting? I'm Whittingham. I'm the guy I'm talking about is Whitting. Is Howington. He's a reporter, supposedly a reporter. I don't. Uh, is there a way to tell between someone verified and someone who is paying to be verified? I don't have a Twitter account, so I wouldn't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that either, Sorgy. I have one myself, but I don't know how that all works, to be honest. Uh, so anyway, I'm trying to go through the comments here, guys. There's a lot of them. Leo says, "Best of the Leach family. May the Lord be with them." Absolutely. What's up, Georgie? Thanks for that, man. But yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's really kind of the story of the day. Is the Leach deal? Thoughts and prayers to him and his family. Obviously, we've got the Big 12 Oklahoma news. Let me know in the chat, guys. What do you guys think about uh, the Oklahoma Texas potentially leaving a year early? I don't think it's a big surprise, but we had never seen it actually reported in the media yet. Mike Leach is still alive as of right now. Rumors going around Twitter about him dying are 100% false at this moment. He's alive, and the R&P Coach Leach and R&P Mike Leach trends are based on inaccurate information. Yeah, I don't know why people do that, man. And now I feel bad for even sharing it because I didn't realize it wasn't legit. To be honest, that's not something if you're going to put out a false report or a false tweet, even, this is not the subject to do it on. See, that's another thing. Some people reporting that he suffers from seizures. Where are they getting this information from? You know, it's crazy. Who is David Hookstead, Sorgy? I'm not familiar with him. Christian Fam Channel, thanks for hopping on. He says Sooners and Shorthorns need to get to the SEC ASAP. I love their time in the Big 12, but that league needs to move on without them to see what they have. I hear you. I hear you, man. Uh, I'm assuming you're an Oklahoma fan based on your the word "our" that you used in there, and the fact that you called Oklahoma the Shorthorns. I mean Texas the Shorthorns. Hank says when I saw the statement from the hospital, it said neurological incident and condition, and that's a stroke because that's what my paperwork said. Okay, thanks for sharing that, Hank. Some, it's possible that this report from Hamilton's is true. I don't know, but I don't want to assume it. But I'm just telling you what I saw. Prayers for him and his family. Larry Pilgrim says 10 minutes means he will be brain dead if he survives. Well, and Mr. Hamilton said he was brain dead. That's basically it. Said he was brain dead. Sorgi says news that I've seen is saying this: seizures, heart attack, brain damage. Corey says supposedly he started having seizures during the process to revive him, causing brain damage. So it could all be true. Born and raised in the red dirt state. There you go. Sorgy Story says, Hank, I'm going to check that out. Which hospital? Because I know that he was at 2. Yeah, he was at the first one. If I can find the article again. It was a hard name to pronounce. Let's see. This one article literally just came out a few minutes ago, but now I can't find it. Here it is. The first hospital he was at was called, well, I don't see it on here now. Oh, here it is. Oktibbeha. It's Oktibbeha County Hospital in Starkville, Mississippi. I can't pronounce it. Oktibbeha County Hospital in Starkville. And then they transported him from there to, he was airlifted to the University of Mississippi Medical Center in Jackson. So yeah, he was at 2 different hospitals. Sorgy says RIP Mike Leach is trending on Twitter, but nothing is confirmed yet. That is really sad about Leach. I agree. Larry says, rest in peace, Oklahoma. They should stay in the Big 12. They will be the next Nebraska. I don't know if I buy that, Larry. I think they will do okay in the SEC. They're going through a coaching transition right now, but they're still Oklahoma. They're still going to bring in really good recruiting classes. I think Brent Venables is just trying to turn that program into what he wants it to be to prepare them for the SEC. And I think they'll be fine. They're probably not going to win the SEC in year 1 by any means, but I think they'll compete just like they always have. Corey says it's real, man. I have read it on other sites about the seizures. Tim Hall says, rest in peace, Coach Leach. He was one of a kind. He's not passed away yet, Tim. At least not to my knowledge. Alan Aaron says, Couz, do you think that Memphis would be really good addition to the Big 12? I really think so. Alan, I'm not real keen on adding any group of 5 schools at the moment. If we can get some Power 5 schools, I'd like to get them. I'm not real big fan of watering down the league, man, any more than it already is. Plus, the way the TV agreement is written up, is my understanding is that they will not get any more revenue by adding any group of 5 teams, only Power 5 teams. And even with Power 5 teams, they only get 60%. So whoever they add would not get a full payout. And what Power 5 team is going to leave another Power 5 conference for only $20 million when they could make 30 in their own conference? So I just don't see it making sense. It would be good for West Virginia because we would have another team closer to us, a little bit closer, not much. But at the end of the day, I'd rather, if we're going to add anybody, I would rather it be more group of 5 teams, or teams a lot closer to West Virginia, like say UConn or whatever. Corey says the Big 12 knows what they have with or without them. It doesn't help the conference for them to go. Sorgi says in the last hour we've gotten a new update from Mississippi State. Let me get that for you. Thank you, Sorgi. Nathan Davies says that guy that broke the Leach story on Twitter paid for Twitter. He's not verified because he's an important figure. He's verified because he paid. Thank you, Nathan. That does make a difference. Corey Peacock says they supposedly revived him and then head to start flooding to where he's at now. Duke Silver Surfer, what's up, man? Says I'd like to see us poach a Pac-12 team or two. I would too. Wouldn't be great for West Virginia because it'd be even further travel, but it'd be cool to play Oregon, and Washington. Curtis D says as soon as the Pac-12 finds out what they will get is when things will get interesting. Yeah, and it'll be at least sometime in January before we find out because they are waiting till this University of Cal Board of Regents meeting takes place to decide the future of UCLA. Then we've got the holidays coming up, so they're not going to do anything through the holidays. So it'll be January before we know anything as far as the Pac-12's TV deal. Patrick Pepper says WVU fans need an antidepressant right now. You've got that right. That Christian Fam channel says, watch out for Colorado jumping to the Big 12. Prime has lived in and knows the DFW area. He has a strong presence in Texas and would like to be part of a league with Southern roots. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense, actually. If Colorado would want to come to the Big 12, that's the question. Or would Prime rather stay in the Pac-12 where he can recruit that LA market a little bit easier? Might be harder to recruit the LA market if he's playing in the Big 12 because most of their games are going to be in the Big 12 region of the country, obviously. So that might be less attractive for some of those California kids to want to play there. Guys, if you don't mind, hit that like button for me. Help get this live stream put out to more people. Get more people in the chat. Liven this thing up a little bit. Try to get these numbers up. And also, guys, if you want to make sure I've been trying to catch as many chats as I can, but can't get them all. And if you want to make sure I see your chat and get it highlighted, you can make a small donation with your chat, and I'll be sure to read it. And it'll also help out my channel here. Yeah, just waiting on the latest update from about Leach because it looks like the Twitter account that I read the original report from earlier may not be a accurate reporting. Duke Silver Surfer says, I think WVU really dropped the ball by not at least trying to get Coach Prime. I totally agree. They should have at least made an effort. Hank says, Sorgi, I can't find it now, but I'm still looking. For those of you who may be new, have recently jumped on here, we're trying to find some reports about Coach Leach that are from more reliable media sources. And I think Hank and Sorgi Stories were even looking for a report from the hospital about Leach's condition. Leo Cole says from Sporting News, the Clarion Ledger reported Monday that Leach had suffered a heart attack at his Starkville home. Yeah, I actually saw that one earlier today. That same report. Stephen Snook, thanks for hopping on, Stephen. He says 2 things are going to happen before any realignment. 1, the California Board of Regents on UCLA and the PAC media deal. Yes, totally agree, Stephen. And that's kind of what we're waiting on now. We're kind of playing the waiting game right now to see what comes out of these Board of Regents meetings, and then find out what the Pac-12 media deal looks like, and then that's when some Pac-12 schools can make some decisions when they see what their revenue is going to look like in the Pac-12 versus the Big 12 or anywhere else for that matter. Alan Aaron says the only reason I mentioned Memphis was because someone said that Coach Bob Huggins said something about the Big 12 going east and Memphis was the only school that came to mind. Huh. Yeah, I don't. I'm trying to think back and recollect when I might have heard Huggins say that. I try to listen to all of his press conferences. I don't hear them all, and I don't catch all of his radio shows either. So he may have said it during his radio show. But I'd be interested to know when and where he said that at, Alan. If you can find out, man, it'd be great because I'd love to go listen to that. And it's very possible. I mean, if they grab Memphis or even some other teams from the East, I'm not like I said. I'd like to see them go further east if they're going to go east, get closer to Morgantown. Larry Pilgrim says president and chancellors aren't going to Big 12 because Sanders says so. That's ridiculous. I don't think it was because he said so, but more or less because of his connections there. He might be able to at least get the conversation started and maybe use some of his connections if that's the move they wanted to make. He might be able to help broker it, so to speak. Uh, Plus, Colorado just hired that coach from A&M who was a huge recruiter in the state of Texas. Very true. They did do that. But for those of you who are just hopping on, I updated everybody on the news that Texas and Oklahoma are apparently talking to the Big 12 about possibly leaving the Big 12 and going to the SEC a year early in 2024 instead of 2025. Those conversations have apparently been ongoing for quite some time. They're getting closer, and they're saying an article by Brett McMurphy from the Action Network said that it could happen as soon as next month, that we could have an update as to what's going on, and it could be confirmed. So apparently they're working hard trying to come to an agreement. Big 12's wanting to be make Big 12's wanting to be kept whole, make sure they get their payouts, their buyout money, their exit money, whatever you want to call it. The SEC wants to be made whole. The Fox, I'm sure, wants to be made whole. ESPN wants to be made whole. So a lot of moving pieces and a lot of challenges in getting this deal done. But there's a lot of intelligent people in that room, and I'm sure there's a lot of incentives to get the deal done. I think it would be better for everybody to get it done, and I think they will eventually get it done. I don't see them being here through the full 2025 granted rights agreement. Steven says, does the Big 12 new media deal have an escalator clause regarding adding members? It does. But the way it works is, Steven, is Fox did not agree to the escalator clause, only ESPN did, which means, and ESPN is basically 60% of the payout. So, because they're the primary rights holder. So ESPN would pay for the new teams, but Fox wouldn't, which means any new teams would only get about 60% of the payout of the revenue. And it also stipulates it has to be a Power 5 program. So adding a G5 program is not going to add any revenue to the league. So that's why I think somebody like a Memphis or a Boise State is more than likely not going to happen. The only way around it would be is that if the Big 12 went out and found a third party media company that was willing to sign on to pay for that, for those, pick up the tab, so to speak, for those new members. That Christian Fam Channel says if you think that university isn't getting Prime what he wants, you either ain't paying attention or you're out of your ever loving mind. Patrick Pepper says, I think over the years, West Virginia's conservative nature has taken a toll on itself. For instance, when Randy Moss was up and coming, WVU didn't offer him. I agree, but Randy Moss was in a lot of trouble in his younger days, so they probably wanted to shy away from it. Don Nealon was very, very big on character. He was a devout Christian man himself, and he probably didn't want anything to. And it may not have even been Nealon. It could have been upper echelon of the university didn't want anybody like with Moss's reputation. Was it a smart move? Probably not. But at the end of the day, that's what happened. Leo Cole says, "Hey, Talking Texas, Chris Beard got suspended without pay." No kidding. I hadn't saw that, Leo. I've actually been wanting to see an update on that, and I hadn't yet. I haven't really had a chance to look. Patrick Pepper says Braxton Amos, wrestling icon from Parkersburg, was offered next to nothing at WVU. That's why he's at Wisconsin. That Christian Fam Channel says, what teams east of the Mississippi would you like to see added? It'd be really cool if we could get some teams out of the ACC, like Virginia Tech, Pitt, some of West Virginia rivals I'd love to have back. Also make travel a lot easier for us as well. Uh, that would be my top two choices: Virginia Tech or Pitt. Any other ACC teams for that matter. Boston College wouldn't be bad. I personally am not a Boston College fan, but I don't really care much about adding them. But from a travel perspective for West Virginia, it would be a good addition. As well would Syracuse would be a good one. Any of those teams up in that part of the country. Really, anybody on the East Coast. The Carolina schools wouldn't be bad additions. If we could get someone out of the Carolinas, someone like an NC State or UNC or anyone like that, would all be good. Don't see that happening because that ACC Granite Rice deal goes through 2034 or 2036, I think. So I don't see them breaking that anytime soon. Anytime something good could happen in West Virginia, gets shot down. There's some truth to that statement, Patrick. Larry Pilgrim says Colorado isn't giving up their research ties and risking ties to the other AAU members because Sanders likes the Big 12. Kansas is a Big 12 member with AAU membership. Uh, but I do get what you're saying, Larry. They want to be with other institutions that are like minded as them, and that probably does matter to them because the Pac-12 has a really heavy focus on academics and research and that kind of thing. So they probably want to stay with those kind of institutions. It's about more than just football. I've said that in past videos. Football is only a piece of this thing. We as fans look at the football piece, but the university presidents that are making these decisions are looking at it from a holistic perspective, and they're looking at it from an academic perspective, a culture perspective, everything. They're looking at the whole kit and caboodle, not just the athletics piece. Corey says Sanders knows to win, he must recruit the state of Texas. Look what's happened with them not over the past several years. Leo says, I don't see why we don't get teams out of the East. Like I just said, Leo, if they come from the ACC, they'd have to break that long grant of rights, which would cost them tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, to break a grant of rights deal that lasts all the way through 2036. Um, and otherwise, we'd have to get Group of Five schools, which would dilute the conference and wouldn't add anything to the revenue. Alan Aaron says he would like to see Pitt, Virginia Tech, and Louisville. Louisville's another one. That's the one I was trying to think of a team earlier. They were the one I'd like to get Louisville in the Big 12. I think Louisville will actually be a good fit in the Big 12. They fit more academically, I think from a culture perspective. Georgie Story says, I just emailed you the new story on Leach that just came out from the Mississippi State Sports Illustrated. It's the email that's featured on your About page. I'll look that up right now, Sorgie. I appreciate that, man, because I don't want to get it wrong. Here's what it says. All right, I'll read this to you guys. This came out 48 minutes ago from Mississippi State. Mississippi State football released its most recent statement on the condition of head coach Mike Leach, who was transported to UMCC on Sunday after suffering a personal health issue that has been undisclosed early on Monday. Mississippi State University head football coach Mike Leach remains in critical condition at the University of Mississippi Medical Center in Jackson. The statement read, Mike's family is with him and appreciates the overwhelming expressions of love and support for the coach, but also requests their family's privacy be respected at this time. That is the extent of the information that MSU has available regarding Coach Leach's condition, and the university will make no other comment at this time. MSU will issue additional information via social media when it becomes available. Sources informed us at approximately 11 p.m. on Sunday that the situation continued to be serious, saying that Leach was still fighting and to continue to keep him and his family in your prayers. Leach, 61, is in currently third head coaching job, and he goes into his career piece. But yeah, so really not a whole lot new there. So I'm starting to have my doubts about that report from Howington on Twitter, how accurate it actually was. And even if it is accurate, I hope he had the family's blessing to put that out in the public, because it sounds like to me they don't want anything out in the public right now. K-Do, thanks for hopping on, man. I can tell he's a Jayhawk fan. He says, from Mississippi, Clarion Ledger, Leach collapsed at his home in Starkville but did not receive medical attention for between 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah. That usually means no oxygen, which means he's probably brain dead. Which is not, we all know it's not a good thing, but we don't want to declare him dead before he's dead, Where has the AAU gotten them? Big 12 and Big 8 was fine before. It's bigger than football, and we do have Kansas. That's correct. And I was actually going to talk. I think I mentioned that briefly. The Big 12 does have Kansas. Iowa State at one time was an AAU member. They're not now. They let it expire. But you can still have AAU status and be in the Big 12. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to lose that. You can still focus on that. But like I said earlier, I think a lot of this comes down to what university presidents want to do, and they want to be with other like-minded institutions in a lot of cases because of the academic piece and a lot of other things that on the academic side that us, sports fans don't see. At this point, does WVU win 4 games next year? This is Silas. Yeah, I think so. I think we win 4. I hope so anyway. I think we need to wait and see how the rest of the transfer portal window plays out, see what the recruiting class looks like, and all that stuff before we start making predictions and see if there's are any changes made to the coaching staffs, any of that stuff. I think it's really too hard to predict. Corey Peacock says, huge Texas fan here, beard is toast. Being AAU helps research funds. Larry, yeah, you're right, Larry. But I think what Christian Fam Channel's point is that they can be AAU and still be in the Big 12. Doesn't necessarily mean they have to lose that. If I'm not mistaken, doesn't Louisville and Cincinnati play for the keg of nails? They do. I think that's what it's called, but it is a rivalry game. Only teams not in the Power 5 in the East that might be considered would be Memphis, UConn, and Army, and I don't know if they go that route. Yeah, I actually think UConn is interesting. Number one, they are basketball blue blood, number one. Two, it gets you into a brand new market. I actually did a video on this a few months ago. Get you into a brand new market in the Northeast that you're not in yet. Probably I would say there's probably a lot of UConn fans in the New York area even. So you take it the Boston area maybe, get a few fans from there. Not to mention obviously the state of Connecticut. And then also obviously you get their football program is on the come up. Jim Moore seems to have them moving in the right direction. They've become bowl eligible this year. They're playing, I think, Marshall actually in a bowl game this year. I think they're playing Marshall at the Myrtle Beach Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. So, he's got them bowl eligible. So they're moving in the right direction. If they make some investments in their football program, upgrade their facilities, and do what they need to do to improve there, I think they would be a very good addition. But from what I've read about UConn, their desire really is to be an ACC team. That's really where they want to be with the Boston colleges and the Syracuses of the world. But if the Big 12 has a chance to get them, I wouldn't hate it at all, especially from the basketball side. Christian Pham says, "I get it, man, but they also want to be relevant and win." Sorgy says that's the official statement from Mississippi State, folks, and that's from 49 minutes ago. Chat. Yep. University of Utah did 620 million in research in 22 and had a research donation of 150 million in 2021. Tell me again how it doesn't matter. I don't think he's saying it doesn't matter. He's saying it's not all that matters. Stripes, thanks for hopping on here, man. I don't recall seeing you in here before. Says, on behalf of the LSU Tiger Nation and family coach Mike, my thoughts and prayers. I don't know what the rest of that statement is supposed to say. Says, salute. May God watch over and protect you, Coach Leach. Great statement, Stripes. Appreciate you chiming in with that, man. Patrick Paper says, at this point, Neil has had a long enough stretch to where nobody is going to want to come to WVU than the athletic director thing. Nobody good, I think, is what he was saying there. Yep. I've always respected the Pirate. Absolutely. Yep. Me too. I think he's a very underrated coach. Big Dan T, thanks for hopping on. Big Dan T, thank you for the $4.99 super chat, man. He says, it concerns me the KP3 is leaving while knowing he would be wide receiver 1 next year. What does that say about the program? That's definitely one of our biggest concerns, Big Dan T. He is. When you know you're going to be the guy and you still leave, you know you're going to get playing time. You know you're going to get the ball thrown your way a lot. So it's got to be one of two things. Either he is not happy there because he doesn't like the culture or the staff, or it's all about NIL money. it's one of those two things, or maybe both. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see uh, how it all plays out. Larry Pilgrim, super chat, man, $5. Thank you very much for the support. Appreciate your channel from a Utah Ute fan. Thank you, Larry. Thanks for the support, man. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Anybody else want to throw me a super chat? I'll gladly take it, and I'll make sure to get your chat up there on the screen. But yeah, it's for those of you who may just be hopping on. I read a quote earlier from a tweet from a Jim Howington, who is supposedly a freelance writer, basically saying that Mike Leach was brain dead and his family was being called in, but I don't know how accurate that is. So be aware of false reporting on Twitter and from fake accounts. Some of these accounts out there aren't even real. Kauz says, I do think that Yormark has done a pretty good job since he has taken over, but we as fans have to maintain patience. I think a lot is going to happen in January, February regarding Pac and Big 12. I think you're right, Kauz. Like we said earlier, I don't know if you were on here yet or not, but we were talking about how Pac-12 is still waiting on this UCLA Board of Regents decision. Then we've got the holidays, so it'll be January before they get their media deal done and finalized and announced, and then that's when we'll probably start seeing things start to shake loose, or things to hold in place wherever whatever happens. And it's OU and Texas that drive their ratings up, and you're welcome. All right, I'm out. Good night. See you, Soldier Stories. Thanks for hopping on here, man. And thanks for tracking down that information for me. Anybody else got anything? And two, also for those of you who just hopped on, West Virginia's top wide receiver going into 2023, Kaden Prather, entered the transfer portal today. He was one of our guys that we were really counting on for the 2023 season to help carry the load, for lack of a better term. We lost our two leading receivers from this year, Sam James and Bryce Ford Wheaton, to graduation. We lost who would have been our number 2 wide receiver next year, Reese Smith, to the portal last week. I didn't know Reese by himself, to me, wasn't that big of a loss. He's been there 3 years. I think he has less than 50 catches in 3 years, but nonetheless, he was a pretty good player, but add that in with the Prather piece, it hurts our depth at wide receiver, and we run an air raid offense. You can't run an air raid offense without wide receivers, so it's really troubling. But now West Virginia has made a lot of offers to receivers in the portal. It's one of the positions that we're going after really heavy anyway. Hopefully, we're going to be able to land some of these guys. There are some really talented guys, some former 4-star recruits that we're offering, some guys who have been really productive at the group of 5 level, put up some big numbers. So hopefully we can get a few of these guys to replace Prather and Smith and James and BFW. But and I'm also curious as to how will it impact our quarterbacks. We've already lost Goose Crowder and JT Daniels to the portal, which weren't big surprises. But if Nico and or Garrett Green realize they don't have a whole lot of people to throw the ball to, are they going to get nervous, get antsy, and decide they want to go in the portal too? That's another concern I have. We've got that Christian Fam channel. Thank you for the super chat, my man. $5 super chat. He says, I've been subbed and watching you since January. God bless, dude. Hope you're in the faith. Keep pushing. Thank you, Christian Fam channel. And I am, brother. I'm not where I need to be in the faith, but I am born again. So I appreciate the chats, the support, the super chat, and for everything you're doing, man. God bless you. Big Dan T, thanks again for another super chat. $4.99. Do you think the lack of a true drop back passer hurts us with a top wide receiver in the portal? That's a great point, Big Dan T. I thought about that too, and it's something Mountaineer Paul and I were kind of DMing about earlier. I can't help but wonder if, having JT leave, and maybe these guys see the writing on the wall that the offense is going to take on a different shape. Maybe they're going to lean more towards the run game. So therefore, he may see that, he's not going to be as big a factor, and he wants to go to play for an offense that's going to pass the ball more. That's definitely a possibility because Garrett, we all know, is a running quarterback. We know Nico is a mobile quarterback. offense is probably going to look different with those two guys under center. So that definitely could have played a role in his decision, no, without a doubt. Your teams are going to find out. Oh, okay, I don't know who you guys are. Hank's got some trash talk going with somebody here. I love it. I don't know what. I don't know who it's with. Uh, oh, I think it's with Creighton Rabs. I've said that since the Pat White days. I feel we need a dual threat quarterback to get us back to where we are used to being. Yeah, when you look back at all of West Virginia's successes over the years, Pat White running quarterback, Major Harris running quarterback, Rasheed Marshall a dual threat quarterback, Skylar Howard a dual threat quarterback. Geno Smith could run the ball when he needed to. Even Will Greer could scramble and make plays with his feet when he needed to. I mean, he wasn't a run first guy, but he could run around. Uh, really, the only exception, if you look at the all time great quarterbacks at West Virginia, the only big exception, I guess, would probably be Mark Bulger, maybe in recent memory. Now, you could go all the way back to the Oliver Luck days, but back then, running quarterbacks weren't really even a thing. And Major Harris was really the first one. But all of West Virginia's greatest teams have had either a running quarterback or at least a quarterback that was mobile and can move around in the pocket. Ever since Neil Brown's been here, we've had Austin Kendall, Jarrett Dagey, and JT Daniels. None of those guys could scramble. Uh, and I feel like that has been a huge missing piece of our offense. West Virginia needs to be different. They're not a team. We can't go out and get 4 and 5 star guys or load up on 4 and 5 star guys. We get some 4 stars here and there. Uh, but we're going to have to be different from everybody else, and we definitely need a running quarterback that makes us harder to defend. If you just got a quarterback who sits back there like a statue, obviously it's easier to defend. But yeah, Chase, Will Greer, you're right. Will Greer could scramble around back there. He wasn't a run first quarterback by any means, but he could run around and make plays when he had to. K. Do says, I'm the point that maybe Yormark should cut a deal with Texas and OU and let them hit the happy trails. Unless the rest of the Big 12 move forward, we do not need them. And K. Do, if you were here in the beginning, we talked about that, man. They're actually talking about that. It looks like we can know something as early as next month, potentially, as to whether or not they're going to stay through 2025 or if they leave a year early. Uh, we got another super chat here from Leo Cole. Thanks for the super chat, my man. $5. He says, hope we don't go after a portal quarterback. Why do we recruit quarterbacks if we go to portal? Add an option package and quicken the offense. You know, Leo, that's kind of what I want to do right now. Not the option piece, but the portal. I think Garrett Green has proven he can win games. Scheme the offense around him and his skill set and what he can bring to the table, and go play football. And then Nico, I feel like Nico could probably do a lot of the same things that Garrett does. Just you can probably run a few more pass plays with Nico because he's going to be a pass first quarterback who can run, whereas Garrett is probably a run first quarterback who can throw. But I think both guys could probably run whatever offense. I think both guys could run the same offense. And hey, if it needs to be an option, run an option. I'm hoping it doesn't need to be an option, but you know what? At this point, with the stable of running backs we've got, assuming they stay with running quarterbacks, you know what? And let's not forget Coach Washington, the wide receivers coach, was an assistant under Jamie Chadwell at Coastal Carolina for a couple of years. So he brings that option look to the room, to the meeting room, to the offense. So maybe they could scheme something up with him, helping them out there to utilize the talent they've got on the team. Big Dan T, thanks. Who's Big Dan T is also a channel member, folks. By the way, that's why you see the little symbol beside his name. Uh, Speaking of memberships, right now I'm doing a Capital One Bowl Mania contest. There's a link to that contest in the community tab for members only. Go on ESPN site, pick the winner of sign in, create a username, pick the winner of each bowl game, and whoever picks the most will win a $25 gift card that's open only to channel members. Leo and Big Dan T are both eligible to get in that competition. But Big Dan T says, Chad Johnston, LOL, Rep Peterstown. I totally forgot about Chad Johnston, not going to lie. I guess it's because he doesn't really go down as one of the quote unquote all time greats, but hey, he did make one of the greatest plays in Mountaineer football history when he threw that long pass to Zach Abraham. I think it was Zach Abraham. Correct me if I'm wrong, Big Dan T, but Zach Abraham caught that touchdown pass in the back of the end zone against Pitt to win the game. Chad Johnston's the one who made that play. But I think Chad Johnston was more of a pocket quarterback as well. He wasn't really a runner either. But yeah, he's from Peterstown, West Virginia, which is close to where Big Dan T lives, and not too far from, only about a half an hour from where I live. So he's a local Southern West Virginia guy who repped the old gold and blue. Silas says, "I hope Rodney Gallagher is ready to be a number one wide receiver as a true freshman." It's looking that way, Silas. Unless they can go land some studs out of the portal, man. Corey says a dual threat quarterback benefits any team. You're absolutely right. But yeah, we need to run. We need to run. We need a running quarterback, in my opinion. They keep throwing out these guys, and I'm not saying JT Daniels. I mean, he regressed big time over the course of the year for whatever reason, but he's talented. There's no doubt he's talented. There's no Jarrett Dagey. Jarrett Dagey made some good throws at times. Jarrett Dagey had some talent, but guys just were statues in the pocket, man. And I really think it limited our offense and what we could do. And if you're maybe outmanned at some spots, whether it be wide receiver, running back, whatever, you got a quarterback who can run the football. It kind of offsets that. And I really hope that this coaching staff saw that with what Garrett Green was able to do there at the end of the year. And I hope they kind of change the way they scheme up from now on. Dana Holgorsen proved that an air raid coach can win with a running quarterback because he did it with Skylar Howard. So hopefully they take some lessons from that, add in the RPO game a little bit more to what they've been doing, and utilize Garrett Green and Nico Marchiol's skill set. What's up, Todd Withrow? Thanks for hopping on here, my man. Hank says Green looked like he was determined to show that 5-star don't mean everything. That kid had the will to win. He did. That's what I love about him. He has the it factor. He doesn't always make the best play or the best decision. Sometimes he doesn't go through his reads like he's supposed to, but the kid's a baller, man. He is an absolute baller. Steven Snook says, I think 12-team playoff only exists for 2 years. 2026 will expand to 16. More money and buys in 12 teams college football playoff will prove to be a bad decision. Steven, that's an interesting take, man. I think you're the first person that has said that about the 12-team playoff not only existing for 2 years. Obviously, there will be more money for that. I just don't know. At some point, the players are going to refuse to play all these games, man, because these guys are concerned about their health. They're concerned about going to the league. And guys, I'm sorry I keep scratching my nose. My allergies are absolutely killing me tonight. But it's making my nose itch like something fierce. But that's an interesting take, Steven. It wouldn't surprise me with all the changes we're seeing in college football. Wouldn't surprise me. And it'd be fun to watch. I can guarantee you that. Big Dan T says, Howard, in my opinion, was a good quarterback and one tough SOB. I always liked him no matter how much hate he got. I'd be good with another one like him. I agree. I'm going to admit, I was not a fan of Skylar Howard when he was here. I kind of he was underappreciated in my eyes, or from me rather. A lot of that was because I didn't. He was very cocky, and I don't like cocky players typically, and I didn't like that about him. So it kind of it put me off, so to speak. And I got upset when he used to overthrow guys that seemingly all the time, especially underneath. He threw a great deep ball. I mean, him and Shelton Gibson had that deep ball thing down pat, but he seemed like he was always overthrowing guys on the shorter routes, and I got so frustrated, man, with him. But when you look back on it, I mean, he's the last quarterback we had that won 10 games. He was a baller, man. When he couldn't throw the ball or make a throw, he just ran the ball and got first down, ran the ball and got yards. He wasn't just a quarterback. He was just a really good football player. And that's Garrett Green kind of reminds me of that. Now, Garrett Green is a lot smaller or a lot thinner than Skylar Howard. He doesn't have the same build. But, hey, maybe he can put some weight on this summer and because I worry about Garrett Green taking so many hits, to be honest, because he is so slim. But yeah, he does remind me of that. He's got that same moxie about him. Todd Withrow says, I freaking can't believe Prather hit the portal Couz. I know, man. It sucks. It definitely does. Mark Spagnola says 12-team playoffs should last at least 3 years. I give it 4 years. And Hank says the quarterback better be cocky. Yeah, I get it, man. That was kind of a dumb. That was probably kind of a dumb take by me back then. Uh, that was kind of around the same time I think Baker Mayfield was playing. All of his antics were just absolutely ridiculous. Now Skyler never went that far with it, but I just didn't like the cockiness. But you're right. To be good, you need to be a little. If you want to be an elite quarterback, you need to be a little cocky. All the good ones are. Some of them are more open about it and more display it more than others. Some don't. Corey says, I don't see a team in this current college football game win it at all without a dual threat QB. Leo Cole, channel member, thanks, man. Says, know what is sad? Waiting to play against Crowder. Leo, I'll be honest, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Charlie Henderson says, the transfer portal is the new college football now. Just got to try to get the good transfers from other schools. Yeah, and I'd like to see Neil kind of switch his uh, strategy up, kind of, and go back to kind of what Dana Holgorsen used to do. Because Dana Holgorsen kind of used the transfer portal before it was a thing. He built his teams off transfers. Neil's trying to build a team with 4-year guys, and they're not staying around long enough. So I think he needs to change his approach and start going harder after portal guys and less after the high school guys. That's what I think he needs to do personally. Because if we do get these guys and we do develop them, because we're developing a program, we usually get 2 and 3-star guys. Now 3-star guys. I don't, we might get a 2-star here and there, but mostly 3-star guys, and we try to develop them into 4 and 5-star guys. Well, they leave as soon as we get them developed. They leave and go somewhere bigger where they can make more NIL money, or they feel like they have a better chance of getting to the league or whatever. But if we can, so we need to kind of use a similar approach to what our opponents are doing. Find some guys in the portal that are already somewhat developed, bring them in, and they can contribute right away. That way, we don't have to develop these guys. It's more like a plug and play type thing. Jordan Cruz, everybody go check out Jordan over at Country Roads Webcast. He says, I'm expecting next year's offense to resemble the style of the 2016 offense with Skyler and Smallwood. Jordan, and that's what I hope to see, man. We need that. That's what we need. And maybe that's why Prather got out of town. Maybe he sees that writing on the wall. Who knows? Crowder will be going to the portal. What if he starts for a team that we will play? Oh, I see what you're saying now. It's very possible. I personally think he'll go down a level, probably to a group of 5 team, maybe even an FCS team. I don't see him staying in Power 5, but he could. I hope that doesn't happen. Steve Lee says Chris Beard should be fired. Jordan says, appreciate the shout out. Our retention is not good. We need a solution. It's a lot harder to develop high school recruits when Brown can't keep them. Absolutely. And Couz, Hank says, I'm not talking about quarterback arrogance. I'm talking about physical cockiness. Yeah, I know what you mean, Hank. And you do need a little bit of that. I think that was probably one of the things that held me back as a high school athlete is I wasn't cocky enough. I had actually had low self-confidence in myself. I was actually a pretty athletic guy, but never had a whole lot of confidence in my abilities, and I think it held me back a lot. So you do need to be, if you want to be a lead or great at something, you've got to have that self-confidence about yourself to be able to go out and do it. You've got to. I mean, it's a necessity if you want to be great. Texas is looking at Prather. That doesn't surprise me. Horns down. I just hope we don't have to play against him. That would suck. By the way, quick update for those of you who didn't see it. If you guys remember Ali Jennings, who was a wide receiver for us, I guess it was 2019 or 2020. I don't remember the year he came in, but he was here like a year, maybe 2. Really didn't get to play a whole lot, but he was very, very talented. Before he got a chance to see the field, he left, went to Old Dominion. Well, he was a very productive receiver at Old Dominion. He got in the portal last or a couple weeks ago. Well, he's now today, just earlier today, he committed to Virginia Tech. So yeah, one of our former players just committed to one of our biggest rivals. Hank says that swag and Green showed it. I agree, he did. What's up, Couz? Hey, Gamecock Chuck. Everybody go check Gamecock Chuck out. He covers a lot of South Carolina content, whether it's football, women's basketball, men's basketball. you want to talk about the South Carolina Gamecocks, that's the guy. Todd says, should we be worried as Mountaineer Nation lose more players to portal coups? What the heck is going on? I'm a little concerned. I'm not worried yet, Todd. I'm concerned, but I'm not panicking yet. If we start losing guys, if we start seeing a plethora of guys like we did last year, and it starts stacking up, then yes, I will get worried. But right now, I'm not yet. But tomorrow's a different day. We'll see what happens. Hey, Robbie Schultz, what's up, man? Thanks for hopping in. Truth Rules, thanks for being on here. Says Jordan Leslie is horrible. Seriously. LIL says Leslie disaster. Yeah, Leslie did pretty good as the co-defensive coordinator with Jamal Adai in 2020. Matter of fact, they did great. We had a top 5 defense. 2021 with Leslie alone at the helm, we were a middle of the pack defense. We played good enough defense to win, in my opinion. Our offense just held us back. And then this year, our defense took a major step back under him. So I guess the verdict's still out. We've kind of regressed a little bit every year with him. And the one year we were elite, he had help with Jamal Adai here. I don't know how much of that was on Adai and how much of it was him, but time will tell. But if they do decide to go a different direction with the defensive coordinator, it wouldn't necessarily hurt my feelings any. But I don't necessarily know if he's the issue. Yeah, prayers for Coach Leach, Robbie. Thank you for that, man. Absolutely. Hank says if you lose almost 20 like my team, then start scratching your chin. Hank, but are those 20 guys? I've been meaning to ask a OU fan this. Are those 20 guys all guys recruited by Brent Venables, or are they guys that were recruited by the previous staff? I'd like to know that. Because if it's guys that were recruited by the previous staff, maybe it's part of that ongoing culture change that Venables is trying to accomplish there. Robbie says, bye, OU and UT running scared to the SEC. Corey Peacock, Chris Beard will be fired. Well, if it's true, he needs to be. His attorney put out a statement today saying that none of it's true, that the cops shouldn't have even arrested him, and nobody's pressing charges. So I don't know where all that stands. Hank says 4 by BV. Well, that's not bad then. If most of them are all Lincoln guys, then because see, that's what we went through. That's what we've been going through the last 2 years. Most of the guys we've lost up until now had been guys who were recruited by Dana Holgorsen. And Neil Brown and Dana Holgorsen are complete opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to running a program and a program culture. So they didn't like the culture changes, in my opinion. So they bolted. But now, guys like Prather, Reese Smith, they were all recruited by Neil Brown. So I'll be anxious to see how many guys we actually lose to the portal this year, and to see if there actually is a culture problem or not. Now, if we continue to lose guys like that this year that are Neil Brown guys, then I'll believe there's a culture problem. Actually, Hal Brown's top recruits have stuck around so far. 2019, all 5 transferred. 2020, 2 out of 5 have transferred. 2021, 3 out of 5 have transferred. 2022, 1 has already transferred. Okay. I have to research that. That's actually a good video idea, Curtis. I need to research that. Now, he did admit that in the 2020 class, he missed on a lot of guys. And they actually recruited a lot of guys that really weren't a cultural fit. So that might explain that one. But I'll have to go look at that and see what guys you're referring to, because that's actually a very interesting stat. And I could have been wrong in my assumption, but I mean, when you look at guys like, I was thinking about guys like, Martell Petaway, some of the linemen that transferred out, all those guys were recruited by Dana. I think even Michael Laughlin was recruited by Dana, but of course he's been here 3 years under Neil before. Robbie says, think my Cats have lost 3 to 4, and that's great, man. If you can only lose 3 or 4 guys in the portal, you're doing fantastic. Have a good rest of your live vid. Couz got to hop off, get kids ready for bed. Hey, man, thanks for hopping on. L-I-L or Liel, I guess is the right way to pronounce that. Todd says we love Eric Stevenson, Gamecock Chuck. He's the man. Absolutely, yeah. We were talking about swag earlier. Now that guy's got some swag. But here's an interesting stat that I read on a message board, 24/7 message board. West Virginia is actually 22 points better on the season with Eric Stevenson on the bench. Think about that. And we have lost the 2 games we've lost by a total of 22 points. Now, I don't think it means anything, and I think because I think it's too small of a sample size, but it is a very interesting stat, and I don't think it's any shot at him and his ability. But maybe there's a chemistry, a lineup thing there when he's in the game. They don't have the right lineup. I don't know. Whatever it is, I found that to be a very interesting statistic. West Virginia is actually better as far as the numbers go statistically now, as far as their plus minus are actually better with him on the bench. But that being said, he's our leading scorer. So it's kind of a really weird stat. I don't know if it holds a lot of weight or not, but I just thought you guys might find that interesting. Yes, Jordan signing day is the 21st. And Big Dan T, I have not heard an update on Benton. I do know he visited Texas this past weekend, took some photos with some guys. I know they did an in-home visit a couple weeks ago. As of right now, as far as I know, he is still committed to West Virginia. But I'll be honest with you, my gut feeling is that he's probably not going to stick with us. I just got a gut feeling about it. He just seems awfully excited about that Texas recruitment. He's put a lot of stuff up there about it on social media. So I really feel like he's probably going to go to Texas. Corey says, of course, that's what a lawyer does. Yeah, I know it is. And that's what he's supposed to do. Um, if he's guilty, he absolutely needs to be fired and never coach again in my book. Because I'm assuming it was probably his wife that he strangled. I don't know that for sure. It's kind of an assumption you make when it's a domestic issue. Corey says, hey, can you be like Stogner and return to the team you left? Oh, yeah. Hey, very interesting. That's what Emmett Matthews did on the West Virginia basketball. Todd Withrow says, can't wait for Perez to join the basketball team. Me either, man. I'm hoping they make a decision on that very soon. The semester ends this week, so they should make a decision soon, hopefully. Robbie says, did you all see Dylan Edwards, a top recruit out of Kansas, have recommitted for the second time and now going to Colorado? Yeah, I did see that. And Corey says, there is a portal problem. Absolutely there is. We need to, and one of the things Ren Baker talked about the other day in an interview I listened to, and he may have even said in his press conference, and that's their new AD, by the way, is we need to retain players. We've got to retain players, and we've got to get good players in. And when we do get them in, we've got to keep them. That's what the program is focusing on right now, and that's what they need to focus on. But they need to do it right away because another losing season might put our program on a friggin' downhill slide like you never believe. Leo Cole says, I believe there is a culture problem. As a longtime fan, our football team hasn't looked like a WVU football team. And Leo, some of the old players have been coming out, speaking out against Coach Brown and the staff on social media, saying there's a problem. You don't know if that's just people that are butthurt because they didn't get their way. You don't know, but it's been a lot of players, a very high number of players. So it makes you wonder. It does definitely make you wonder. Corey says, want to talk about a cultural fit and no idea. Call Tom Herman. Mark Spagnola says West Virginia can't expect to hang on to all them returning 300-plus pound players without a national ranking. Current NIL is unsustainable. It's definitely a problem, for sure. And I've heard rumors that some of our linemen are being, I don't want to use the word poached, but being pursued. And if that's the case, man, we really need, because the core of our offensive line is all supposed to be back next year. If we can keep the offensive line together, they'll all be juniors and seniors. We should be really, really good. Could schools take legal action against the NIL to stop the bloodletting and transfers? Not unless they want to get sued, truth rules. I think they'd get sued in a heartbeat by players. Word on the hill is K-State might have some star players coming back next year for senior or super senior year. Watch out, Big 12. Robbie, if that happens, man, Lord have mercy. You guys might rule the league. Well, guys, listen, I really appreciate everybody hopping on tonight. I need to jump off. It's been an hour and 15 minutes. I really appreciate everybody hopping on. Thank you for your support. I'm going to try to start doing these on Monday nights if I can every week. I won't be able to do it every week, but most weeks anyway. I'm going to try to start making Monday nights my live stream night so that I can get on a schedule. And maybe you guys can have something to kill your time on Monday nights if you get bored and hop on with me. But I really appreciate everybody's support. Thank you for everybody that gave me super chats. I put all that money goes right back into what I'm doing here to try to grow this thing. I've got a lot of big plans for this channel, but it takes money to do it. And but I'm on my way, guys, and I appreciate it. Now, even if you guys don't support me financially, just being on here means a lot. Hitting the like button means a lot. I don't expect everybody to be able to donate money. I know some people can't. That's totally fine. So I don't want to be on here like I'm begging for money. But I appreciate everybody and anything you do to support me. I love it. And whether it's like I said, whether it's the thumbs up button, whether it's just being on here and participating, whatever it may be. Thanks everybody. Have a good night. God bless.